Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sankhaya. So, okay, we have all of the social media up and running. Let me see here. Great. Wonderful. I hope everyone is across the world, the east side, the west side of the world. I just wanted to make this video because it's in a good minute since I appeared live that I can remember. My week seems like 2 months. Very eventful. And I wanted to capture this moment, especially in the midst of writing my book and trying to finish it, is because I am supposed to be keeping a journal, just like how I suggested all of my students in the CBT program and throughout their spiritual journey. I've that's one of the key ingredients in my program is to keeping a journal. And since that I have been so busy nowadays that I'll be lucky if I can just sit and do this. And somewhere down the line, I guarantee you, someone's going to reach out and tell me, "Hey, Venerable, we would love to shadow with you for a week and make a movie." And so then they can use these little snapshots and whatever's going on here with this YouTube thing that I'm doing, and capture these little small moments and piece it together. They have their ways of doing it. It's no different than Justin Bieber, who runs around with the GoPro, and then they take little segments of that and they put it together. And you know, it is. So I wanted to capture this uh, my life as a monk in 1 week and how hectic it is. And if people ever wondered what it's like to be an urgent care monk, this you're gonna get your answer. Because people think that we just sit and meditate, or we sit and we read the Dhamma and just spread the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah, most of them do. Not this monk. After this monk have graduated his 5 years of apprenticeship, this monk gets out in the world and try to affect change. So again, I wanted to capture this moment in time because one of these, time's flying by very fast. For me, hopefully for all of you, if life is busy and life is good, it will move very, very, very fast for all of you. Let me see here what's going on. Oh, okay. All right. So hopefully I can focus here with all the TikTok people putting all these comments on here. I have a lot of media in front of me. First and foremost, I'd like to thank most venerable Shanti with the International Buddhist Meditation Center in California for surprising me with a gift post birthday. I think that it was supposed to be on my birthday, but it arrived, post birthday. Doesn't matter. It's the thought that counts. And most venerable, thank you so much, and thank you for continuing to invite me to be a guest and a visiting teacher to give Dhamma talks. It's a great thing, so especially as a young monk starting out. And then now we go into my week. And at the current time, my editing team, my publishing team is getting, I submit my chapter 1, I submit my so and so on, and then they give me feedback on it, and I'm working on that. My mom was discharged out of the hospital today after 2 days in the hospital. That will probably be reserved for the next video, which comes after this, immediately after this talk, because I wanted to break this into segments and not cluster everything up, especially for the title purposes of the search for certain videos, that one wrapped up together. So she's doing well. And that's going to be in another video titled, "Hey Mom, join me in Nibbana," which is Sanskrit nirvana. So it's a very profound conversation that my mom and I had on the phone today because I had a lot of time to drive home from the city of Ocala, and and we had a very deep talk. And my mom is the last person that I am trying to persuade, trying to convince to go into monastic order. No different than Venerable Ajahn Chah, whose mom was in the Mechi order. So again, that's going to be reserved right after this talk. Now, we all know this month of June 2022 that I have been doing three things. Number one, stand up for LGBTQIA plus with all of my previous videos that you all have seen. Number two, talked about Sila, which is morality and ethics, which is um, the first fold training, the first out of the threefold training in Buddhism. I've been pressing that hard. And also the last thing is dana, the generosity, the practice of generosity for my birthday. The month of June is quite festive, quite eventful, just because you have all these things going at once. But the Sila thing was really important, is because I'm starting to noticing, we all have, right? If you watch the news and if you pay close attention, you know that crime rates are going up. I mean, across all these states, the gun violence and so on and so on. So of course, as an international teacher and a national teacher, I have to say something about it and select the proper teachings for the masses of crowd. Then lo and behold, right? And this is with permission to share with a student that came to me, because I wanted to, because how his mind was jumping all over the place, and I told him, listen, everything you've told me and confessed to me is out of the way, and now it's time for me to give you my recommendation. And I wanted to capture this moment, and if you forget, I want you to go back to this video. And so the student said, sure. And the student is in his early 20s, early into mid 20s. And so again, with permission to share. So I don't want people to think that, why is Venerable Chidao, like talking about these stories when there's confidentiality issues in there. And trust me, I take the confidentiality thing very seriously. Same standards as therapists do. And of course, now, long behold, right, the Venerable alerts to the world, alerts to the United States, everyone in the United States, that we have a very imminent, salient issue right now with Sila. And that, if we don't have safety, if we don't have the gift of safety from everybody, then it'll be very hard to sit and meditate and do everything else and go shopping for food and put gas in your car. And you can't do that if there's rocket grenade launchers going off behind you, so on and so on. Lo and behold, a student comes in, and it's a student that's newer. I've been observing this student for 6 months at least, and every student under my care and guidance, I kind of notice patterns with them, right? The flow. And then of course, as a teacher, when a student kind of like drift off a little bit. So when the student came to me, I've already have prior information and current information that, okay, well, come in. Let's talk about what's going on in your life. What's going on. Then again, I'm not going to divulge, and I'm going to change certain identifying markers and details so that the student no one knows. Simply put, so just no one knows. The student had problems retaining jobs. And so again, these are yellow flags, right? And then so I bring the student in. I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, yeah, do you need assistance with anything? The student was actually seeking a job with me, and everyone knows that I travel from time to time. So the the assistant of the venerable, I pay them. Just they volunteer, but I pay them just because it's the right thing to do. It's because they're young students. They need the money. I know that because I was once in their shoes. So I don't tend to ask. I don't like to ask people to do anything for free. I have a little bit of money from donations or anything like that. I pay them because they're like, look, just take it. It's my gift to you. You're gonna need it for gas, food, and so on and so on. So the student was seeking, anything that the student can do for money because the student is out of a job and was not able to retain this particular job. So upon sitting with the student started to tell me about shortcuts to make money, and the student started to talk about, well, let's choose the illegal way to make money, and I'll add the word violent illegal way to make money. Um, that involves the concealment of identity, and involves weapons in hand, and it involves, and the student was really convinced that I'm going to do this. I can get away with it. I can make a lot of money. But the part here is that the student was really convinced that the student could really get away with it and that could outsmart our police force. And I was like, oh, this is not good. This is really not good. We had a very deep dialogue, right? And the student was convinced that I don't know anything about that life. I've never walked in that life before. I've never witnessed that kind of life, the criminality life, the life of criminals, and how that actually really works. Well, the student was wrong. So I did a lot of self-disclosure. And I told him, yes, I have been on the other side of the law, clearly. Okay. And I realized that you can't win, right? You realize that you won't win. Trust me, you won't. And for the record, I have never been convicted of a crime. Okay, I've just done a lot of dumb things, like all of us wonderful young teenagers and young adults, and get ourselves into as a direct result of hanging with bad people and wrong influence, and so on and so on. That whole spiel. Okay. And so I decided to, like unravel that part of my life, my previous life. Again, a monk is someone who has dedicated his life to change, one who has recognized that, oh, well, my old life is not working out so well. Let's look at a different way to live, a more peaceful alternative way to live, more effective way to live. So again, I told the students, look, these are things that I have done. I'm telling you now. And if you are in this world of criminality, you know what I'm talking about. When I got down to really nitty gritty details about drugs, alcohol, guns, and so on. And I was able to touch a spot within the student where the student realized, oh, snap, Venerable's an OG. Because I don't want to brag. I've never opened certain parts up because it's not necessary. I only flex when I need to in order to influence directly, deep. If I need to penetrate someone's heart, I will do it, right? For the sole purpose of that, so that they open their eyes, right? So that ding is a light bulb that goes off. And I convinced the student. I said, do you actually think that you can get away with these violent crimes that you think you can get away? And the student was very inspired by what the student saw on the news. So, we have a lot of these mindsets out there that easily influenced by what they see in the news. Like, oh, look, the robber got away, or look, the murderer got away, or the so on and so on, the rapist got away. And you think you can get away just like them. And how long do you think you can actually get away just like them? And you don't think that you can sleep well at night, or do you think you're going to sleep with one eye open? Because they're coming. They're coming. once you start to spin the wheel of the criminal world, again, not keeping the precept, and that wheel is spinning, guess what? You're also spinning that wheel with instant karma, the possibility of instant karma. That means if you rob, kill, lie, cheat, steal, whatever, the 5 precept, there are people who are trained to catch you, right? Furthermore, I emphasize to the student, and I'm like, have you noticed that detectives nowadays are extremely very young? You know, the word detectives back in the day, my professor was actually into detective fiction. She also has a PhD in it. And I said, you know, detectives back in the day were like in their 50s and 60s, actually in their 60s, more likely. Is because they've had to accumulate all these experience before becoming a detective, like Sherlock Holmes. And no, I'm not looking at the questions for people on TikTok. So I just want you guys to just get the point and understand and know what's going on. Because I don't have time to answer the question. I gotta stay on point, or else I'll drift off. And so I told the student, like, have you, you know, like, just in case you haven't noticed, the detectives nowadays are very young. They're like in their like mid, like late, they're like in their late 20s, right? Which is unprecedented to see. Well, it's not really that big of a surprise. But you look at kids nowadays, they can work an iPad better than we can. They can work, they can like go through phones, games, and I mean, like champion Olympic level. So of course, you know, you see the shift and change in human intelligence, and of course, within the world of police, you see that detectives are young, quick, they coordinate things. They got their own ways to catch criminals. I know how they work very effectively. So I told the student, I'm like, listen, they drive cars and you won't even know. They don't even know their own cars, right? So I have a lot of friends who are in the police force, and they come, they hang out, and we hang out, and I'm like, hey, I was like, hey, George, what's that radio you got? Why don't you turn it on? I'm bored, right? Let's turn it on. Let's hear what's going on in the city. So of course, all of these cops come and they hang out, and the radio goes off, and lo and behold, we get to a channel that no one is supposed to listen to. They are so deep undercover that they don't even know their own cars. Matter of fact, they have to tap their brakes for the other people to realize, oh, look, that's Tom, Dick, and Harry, or whatever, right? And I was like, holy cow, that's how deep undercover they actually really are. And these are the same people that goes after people who breaks the law and does not keep the city safe. So, and again, I was able to spend a very long time. And it just so happens to be on the day that I really enjoyed myself for the first time, right? Every June on my birthday, I've told people that I gave more, you know, go out and do stuff and give, right? Not to be selfish, my whole birthday month. Because, you know, birthday, usually people expect presents and it's all about me. It's not. And I'm like, well, let me prove it to you that's not about me. Every year, I go out and I do stuff. So it was one of those days where I was like really able to relax, and then lo and behold, at night, this comes, and it actually kept me up. Yeah, I did not sleep well because I realized that this student represents for actually a good portion the number that is doing stuff out there that again it's not a good thing for the city, not a safe thing for them, and not a safe thing for others out there, which includes all of you who are watching. The potential and likely chance of these individuals targeting you very high, so that they can make some money and make a living the wrong way. That's why we have right livelihood in the Noble Eightfold Path. And it was the same advocacy that I tried to push since I went public with the social media thing. And I said, listen, we need a meditation center. A lot of it at all of the hotspots. Well, let's start with Florida first. And nobody really heeded that until this very day. Nothing, no support, nothing, absolutely nothing. So it's all. I hope that talks like this inspire somebody out there. If they have never been a victim of a crime before, one of these days they will be a victim of a crime, and the perpetrator will be young. And of course, forgiveness and anger and all that will set in and settle one day. And then they realize this talk or the discovery of this talk. And they realize that, oh my God, this monk saw this coming. And I just so happens to be a victim. And if they so happens to be a philanthropist or a wealthy person and they realize, okay, well, why don't we get together and create a new world of safety and to spread the education part of Buddhism, especially Sila, morality, right? Um, anyways, so the prevalence of crime is always gonna happen. It's the true nature of our society. But not doing anything about it compounds the problem. We have to make a dent in it. That's why there are these drug rehab programs. There's all these programs out there that's working in the background that we typical lay people don't really notice, is because it's not our job to notice, right? We do our 8 and hit the gate and then go home and pay the bills and then take care of our kids and so on, and then you sit and you relax and you watch me talk to you. All right. It's my job to actually do all of the background work and to understand what's happening in our society right now and how can we make it better, safer, more peaceful, more happy, more, cohabitating in harmony, right? It's a very big task. So, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to capture this very salient, necessary, beneficial talk. And again, it's also to effect the purpose of continuing to sound the alarm, is pressing the alarm button about safety and the programs that we need, the continuous programs that we need, and the continuous funding of programs that we need to try to get these young people to calm down. There's a better way, And of course, the propelling force for young people who wants to get into this world of criminality, of the shortcut way to make money wrongfully, is because their upbringing is not so great. And sometimes they believed that the savage life chose them. And nobody cares in their family, which is valid. It's not invalid, and they're not blaming it on it. It is a valid point. Anyone who studies criminology, sociology knows that. But somewhere down the line, we have to jump in there and we have to tell them, all right, I get it. I totally understand. But we have to think about this wisely and move about this skillfully and not wind up in a 6 by something cell eating ramen noodles and peanut butter jelly sandwich your whole life while trying to befriend Bubba. And Buddhism has that comprehensive, effective educational system that we can in fact change their software so that they look at the brighter side and can become productive, good members, citizens that live amongst us and live as neighbors. And lack of wise counseling for those who need it the most is not a good thing in our society. And what we have seen so far, and if you look at the FBI statistics on gun violence, violence against police officers, intentional violence against police officers, even officers who are not responding to calls and being targeted, the hatred, the amount of aversion against people who keep us safe. Now, granted, I understand both sides of the table about blue lives and, cops abuse their power and all these. Look, humans, just because they're in uniforms, they are still humans. So is politicians and so is holy people sitting in front of you. Okay? They make mistakes. We make mistakes. Presidents make mistakes. So there, but this is the best available science we know about keeping y'all safe. The best science we know about trying to like keep the standard at an acceptable level and trying to improve and reform and all of these things in every sector that we have, in the Christianity world, in Buddhism, in politics, in medicine, in law, you name it, it's prone to happen. However, however, I am trying, and one of these days, trust me, I'm going to make my rounds with the police departments and talk to the Association of Police Chiefs and Sheriffs, to help them be more compassionate in treating our citizens, all of us. I have had my fair share with my encounters with police when I was young. I had to put a lot of them in their place. You know, I probably made enemies along the way, just because I knew my law. I was one of those guys that you see on YouTube that cited the law, and they did not like that. Yeah, I was one of those guys. So I understand now, as a holy man, I understand both sides of the table about how people actually feel. We got to do something here to make the shift and change in perspective. Holding that type of resentment and anger for so long doesn't really solve the problem. We have to be part of the solution, constantly looking for that, if we care about our world. Uh, and we got this small little planet, and I believe that we can do it. If you all stand with me, and if you all stand for peace and equality and justice, we can do it. Matter of fact, one of these days, I really like to meet Reverend Al Sharpton. You know, all right, that's a whole new other talk. We won't get to that. Let me see. Let me see what am I missing here? Let's see what kind of questions we got here. Uh, Please teach Dhamma in Vietnamese. Well, so that is going to be for the next talk. I've actually don't give too much information about that. I'll just say it now, since we actually have a lot of Vietnamese people for some odd reason on TikTok. When I give talks, there are a lot of Vietnamese people. And to all my Vietnamese students, xin chào hết tất cả bên Việt Nam và hết tất cả học sinh ở bên Việt Nam. The reason why I don't give Dhamma talks in Vietnam is because I keep it very real, and I don't think that our people, Vietnamese people, would understand where I'm coming from, because I have a mixture of actual Vietnamese culture and a mixture of American life mixed together. And my job is to paint the picture as it is and not to side with cultural norms or expectations. So, I believe that if I start teaching Dhamma in Vietnamese, that I may not be welcome back to Vietnam, simply put. And if you're a Vietnamese at the time of this talk, you realize that how toxic parents are, and how our culture is shaped, and how our specific Buddhism in Vietnam shapes people. And in order to dispel the continuous cycle of ignorance, I have reserved not right now, not to give them that medicine that is needed for the whole country. So anyway, that's another talk. We won't go there. But when the time is right, I promise you all, I will ease into it. There is there's a lot of discussion and dialogue. I have to speak with most venerables in the Vietnamese sector. But right now I live in America, and I realize the statistics show that most listeners are females, and most viewers, are 53%, are in the United States. So I need to just keep it on point. But regretfully, it's not the right time to switch over to Vietnamese mode. And speaking of that, this today was very eventful, as I sat with a woman who, again, spoke to me in Vietnamese, described her situation. and she was making some really, really um, tough choices. And the guy she was with, after she showed me the picture of the guy, I realized, oh, I really think that you should really, I think it's time to leave and permanently. So I was able to brush up on my Vietnamese effectively, trying to persuade her to make good choices in regards to relationships, because I think that it's going to be spiraling down towards a very violent relationship. Matter of fact, I think that it could actually result in potential death or serious bodily injury, just given the guy's background. And what she told me, I put all the pieces together, and I realized, I'm like, do you see it? And I used Vietnamese to really paint the picture, and I used the word dukkha, and trying to really, really make an impression on her mind. So, anyways, uh, that was something that I wish I recorded, and I believe that a lot of people can actually benefit from that in our Vietnamese culture. But as soon as I start speaking Vietnamese, trust me, I will start spinning a whole different wheel on that other side of the world. And right now, there is a lot of political influences, and I don't want to get into that. Um, that's again, when the time is right, the timing of such talk has to be right, and I surgical precision. So I apologize to all of my Vietnamese students, but again, try to take these talks and previous talks that I have given and apply it to yourself. Um, and my continuous encouragement is to study English effectively. Sư khuyên hết tất cả nên học tiếng Anh. Vì hết tất cả thông tin ở trên mạng là miễn phí. Everything on YouTube is free. And I have seen dirt poor Vietnamese students study so well and so diligently that they speak English as if they are actually sitting right next to me. And they text the same way we do. So, anyways, all right. So now I'm going to keep TikTok rolling. I'm going to stop the videos on both of my Facebook, and I'm going to restart it with a different title, which is the conversation I had with my mom, and how to bring our parents towards enlightenment, literally, when they're at end of stage, death, like near death, like they're going to expire. And one of the regrets that we have is, and one of the question that we have is that, what mom, dad, I really want you to die peacefully. How do we get there? Because if they die peacefully, we're going to be at peace. If they die in a not peaceful manner, trust me, it's going to have this emotional impact that lasts for God knows how long. So I wanted to do a separate video about that, about this very intimate conversation I had with my mom, and how how she's going to join me towards the path of enlightenment. And I think that everyone would really get a kick out of this particular rare talk of our dynamic and relationship, of our long, turbulent relationship that now turns into a peaceful path. So at this time, I'm going to deactivate YouTube and 2 other ones, and I'm going to restart it right back up. So please keep an eye out on that if you're currently actively watching. And everyone on TikTok, just give me 1 second.